What's up?
How y'all doing tonight?
It's time for episode... Oh, shit, what episode is this?
23, maybe?
I think it's 24.
Doesn't matter. What does matter is it is our Winter Awards episode.
It is Friday, April 1st, 2016.
Happy April Fool's,
11:01 p.m. You are listening to either episode 23 or 24
one or the
of
other.
Oh No Anime, the podcast. My name is Mark.
I'm Patrick.
We are both pretty lit right now.
Yeah, we're
Full disclosure.
we're a little tipsy, I guess you could say.
Sure, let's go with that.
What matters is Diamond is Unbreakable and Terraformers is out, and we decided what better way to celebrate a Friday night at the end of a long week than getting lit.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is our awards episode for the winter 2016 season.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go through some stuff, and we're going to give some awards, and we're going to talk about this
Awards
season.
mean a lot to the industry, by the way.
It sure
They're very
does.
lauded.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about
All the studios are looking to see
it.
what
They matter about as much as an Oscar.
old Oh No Anime is given to their shows. Before we do that, I'm going to tell you what episode this is. This is episode 23.
23, all right.
So we're on episode 23. I totally knew that beforehand. I was just
Like
saving
that
it for
bad
dramatic
Jim
effect.
Carrey movie? That was Jim Carrey, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 23.
Terrible movie. Don't watch it.
Yeah, we should say beforehand, before we dig on into this, there's going to be a lot of spoilers in here. Any show from winter 2016.
Yeah, that includes 2 core shows because I know I have some second core stuff in here.
I guess we should go over the rules. So the rules kind of change every season with us.
Yup.
So we kind of used to do this thing where we would only really consider what was finishing, like completely done as far as we knew at the time of our recording. But the fact that the Japanese anime industry continues to insist that they split shows into 2 cores and spread them out. I think we've kind of reconsidered that and are now just doing things on an individual core basis, or if it is a continuous show, considering shows that are ending in that manner. So like Iron Blooded Orphans would be like on the slab for this. Yeah. Because that was a 26 episode series.
Transitional.
Yeah. That was a 26 episode series, but it was not split. It was consecutive.
Shit, I don't think I've seen the last episode yet.
Well,
I need to fix that.
Yeah, probably. It's pretty good.
Let's just pause the recording. Okay, I'm kidding.
Yeah, don't do that. So yeah, spoiler warning before we get started. If you have any shows from winter 2016 that you'd rather not have spoiled, that could happen in this episode. So watch those beforehand and then watch this. So what say we jump in?
Yeah, let's go right into it. All right, first up, I don't have the list, so this is on you.
Let's do it. Yeah, best opening theme.
Gee, who'd have thunk?
Yeah, I think we probably have the same thing for this, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
I don't think there are very many people that would say that there was a better opening theme this season.
Not only that, I feel like in general the opening themes this season were a little weak, with exception of this one. I can't recall very many that stuck in my head.
There were some interesting ones, but honestly, this one even if there were some pretty good ones, this is just not only the fact that it is already a classic song, but like the fact that
I guess for people listening on iTunes instead of YouTube, we should probably mention it's Asian Kung Fu Generation with Riri, the opening to Erased.
Yeah, or
there we go.
Boku Dakagai Naimachi.
Erased, got it.
Yeah. So yeah, we both selected this, and obviously for those of you guys that haven't been with us before, we're gonna do it individually. So some of our awards will differ. Some of our awards will differ.
I think a lot of them will probably be the same this season. Not that it was a bad season, but I feel like we're on the same wavelength on.
There's a lot of low-hanging fruit for awards this season for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, this song is really fucking good, and the re-recorded.
It hasn't left my head since I first heard it.
The re-recorded they basically recorded a studio version of what they've been playing live since that album came out in 2006. But
it's great because it originally came out in the year. What was it?
It came out the year before the present day arc of Erased happened. So Soul Fog came out in 2005. Erased happened partially in 2006. But yeah, just a really good song. It's one of those songs that it's just never gonna leave you. Like it's just, it was already very special, and now it's even more special because we have 2 versions of it that are both
we
really
have Re
good.
and Riri.
Yeah, Riri.
Great
yeah,
naming scheme, guys. Agent Kung Fu Generation will kind of always be good, though.
They're one of the best Anisong bands of all time.
I mean, yeah, there's a picture I used instead, the first slide from. I wound up having to find a lot of erased pictures for this.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys probably could guess that Erase is pretty high on our list of everything.
I would say that some of my choices are probably going to be fairly controversial given what I've said about Erase this season, but
y'all can deal with it.
You let stuff slow burn over a time, and you kind of readjust your opinion on things.
You'll come back in 10, 12 years' time and think, you know what? Mark was right.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, people are going to be listening to this podcast 12 years from now.
I might be.
Sure.
All right. Moving on to ending themes?
Yeah, let's move
I think
on
that's
to
the next
ending
one.
Themes.
There we go.
So yeah, this is
early regret not finishing this.
So this is a show that I can guarantee you most people did not watch. Based on the discussion of a lot of the stuff that happened around the show on Reddit, I can pretty easily confirm that
I think
basically
you mean the
no
lack
one
of discussion.
watched this show. Well, the most discussion I saw of it was that they actually had 2 separate spreads.
We should make a point of naming the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're so used to YouTube. This is my best ending theme is Lose Control. It's very highly stylized in text, but it's Lose Control by Nene Nanakarobi and Clarion. Pandora and the Crimson Shell, or Kokaku no Pandora, is the show. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay, because the show was not particularly, watched,
no.
I would say, in the
West.
West.
I did enjoy the episodes I saw, but it was just one of those things that I didn't feel the drive to continue. In a normal season, I would have, but I wound up dropping a lot more than normal this season because I got so darn busy between the move and Japan.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say that this show was a standout in any regard. I think that the one good thing that it did was it kind of was a weird hybrid of 2 types of anime that you would never consider together, which is Magical Girl and Cyberpunk.
I like it. I mean, those are 2 things I
I
definitely
loved
enjoy.
the show, mostly because it was just a complete takedown of all the bullshit that is Ghost in the Shell. I love Ghost in the Shell, but it is so overly
it was knocking on that pretty hard, which
sometimes.
is funny considering it was Shiro Masamune himself.
Yeah, but yeah, no, this ending theme is so fun, and the soundtrack to the show was so shockingly good. I kind of am disappointed because the thing that pisses me off about this show is that the fact that no one's watching in the West means that it's very hard to find anything the easiest thing that I've been able to find so far is the opening, which is also a very good song. But this ending is out in Japan, and it's not available anywhere in the West that I can find. And also, the soundtrack should be out pretty soon.
Guess
I guarantee
you gotta import it. Amazon.co.jp.
I don't even know if Amazon is carrying this.
Amazon JP will carry it. They ship to the U.S.
I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't, because no one's fucking watching this show.
I feel like this show kind of has the same headspace as Nurse Witch Komugi in the U.S.
Yeah, it really. I honestly think this show probably should have been a short. Because
I felt like there was enough. Well, I only saw the first couple episodes.
Trust me, they were stretching real hard in some of it. I approve of the Yuri, and I approve of the cyborgs, and I like the characters they introduced. They're all very likable, and I like the level of sentimentality in the show is very high, which I like. But yeah, no, I mean, it's fucking Techno Boys Polkcraft Green Fund. What more could you possibly ask for?
It's a great name, my favorite
name.
No,
I just, this definitely wasn't the best ending theme, I think, but it's my favorite, and I like
what
listening
matters.
to it
They
a lot.
are our awards, not best awards.
Yeah. Fuck the haters. The show was great. This show that should have come out in 2002 was fantastic.
I'm going to hand you my phone so you can take care of mine.
Yep, let me fade this out like a professional audio engineer, and then I'm going to
Good job. Use 2 fingers like a real pro.
Banging sounds and shit.
So professional.
We're lit right now.
All right, you can go ahead and hit play on mine whenever. You might want to start it kind of loud, though.
All right.
There we go. Well, mine is, if you're watching the video, you already know. It's Chisanobu Gensho, which means small adventures from Konosuba. Konosuba came out of nowhere. it wound up being
Sure
one of the
fucking
more
did.
popular shows of the season, which is great because it was really enjoyable. But this ending is kind of opposite of the like high tension, like hyperactive mood that the show had. But it's really nice. You got kind of the guitar going, the characters, the main three female characters singing.
Yeah, it's nice.
Sorry, I'm just enjoying it. Yeah, it's one of those shows where, or one of the songs where, I finished the show and it really, you like feel yourself completely unwind. And even though I just said it was the complete opposite of how the show felt, it still really, really fit it. Did you watch Konosuba at all?
No.
You missed out, bro.
I wish I would have watched it, but it was not one of the things at the beginning of the season that I thought was going to be good. And I think I can be forgiven in thinking that.
Yeah, it was ugly as sin, I'll give you that.
I'm sad that I didn't watch that or the other one.
And here, there's something to be said for ending themes that have the characters singing. Yeah. I mean, obviously, yours is one of them. This Chisana Bokensha is as well.
There was a lot of those this season.
Yeah. I just hope that the next season of Konosuba does a similar thing.
Yeah.
Because we're getting season 2.
That's another Dean show, isn't it?
Yeah, Dean
Good
is
old Dean.
On fire. They're back to their like 2004 level before Fate's Day Night made them almost bankrupt.
Let's hope that they don't do that again.
Alrighty. All right. Move on along.
Yeah, let's move this shit along. Yeah, best original soundtrack for me. So if you're not watching the YouTube video, I chose Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju, which is a show that will show up a lot on my list. Yeah, so this soundtrack was pretty much that everything that you would... I would say that it's half what you would expect in a show about Rakugo. A lot of traditional Japanese folk songs.
That's a shamisen.
Shamisen, taiko, a lot of that kind of stuff. And then the other half was all jazz, which I really approved of.
This was the guy that did the Baccano soundtrack,
nope,
right?
It's not. This is the first time that this person has ever done an anime soundtrack or appeared on an anime staff list. Yep, they did a fantastic job, I think, with this show. All the music was very atmospheric. The opening and ending were also produced by this composer.
I do love my instrumental endings.
The ending to the show was a serious contender. I think, honestly, the only reason that I didn't choose it is because it isn't readily available on YouTube, and I didn't listen to it as much.
Almost made it mine as well.
Yeah, it's really hard not to pick that because the ending is just so perfectly emblematic of everything that I liked about that show. It's just subtle and calm and so, like, assured in its, vision, essentially, and presentation. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just like you wouldn't think jazz would be a very accurate soundtrack for a Rakugo show,
yet,
but like
it worked
absolutely perfectly.
It's very atmospheric.
And yeah, all the like singing and Japanese like folk music in it was so good, like so well done and perfectly believable. It wasn't perfect, so you could totally believe that it was just like a housewife, behind the curtain playing a shamisen because she like grew up playing it. And, like, drunk dudes playing taikos and stuff like that. It was really...
Or maybe Rakugo tellers in training playing the taiko.
Exactly. Yeah, it was just really well made. And there's...
So it did what a soundtrack is made to do, which is boost the story without stealing it.
Yeah.
It really did. It set the mood entirely.
Yeah. I definitely can't say that other than the ending and the opening, I really, like... remember very many specific tracks, but that's because it just blends so well into the overall style of the show. That's the
mark of a good soundtrack.
Indeed it is.
Mine is the opposite kind of good soundtrack. I didn't put a picture of the show because, like I said, I was running short on Erased pictures. But, of course, this is the soundtrack for Erased by Yuki Kajiura. It sounded very thematically similar to Madoka's soundtrack, which, okay. I don't mind. Lots of strings stealing the show, really building the tension for you, but it worked. This is at its core a suspenseful show.
I think the best part of this soundtrack was probably all of the solo piano music.
Yeah. Oh no, that was great.
So good. Like
you had the strings to build up the suspense, and then the piano for just about everything else. Now Kajiura, of course, is a queen of string quartets in anime.
Come for the strings, stay for the piano.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah, it was very.
For a show
emotional.
For a show like Erased, I'm trying to think of the right way to put this. the directorial style was very reminiscent of Alfred Hitchcock, and the director himself even said he was kind of going for that.
Yeah.
And Alfred Hitchcock used silence a lot in his films, which thankfully this director, I'm blanking on his name, did not. He really let the music take control in a lot of the scenes, and I was thankful for that.
Yeah. Most people would recognize this director from Death Note. That's pretty much his one other credit to like his, like a huge credit to his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this director very clearly had a very, I mean, we'll talk about this more.
There's a lot of Erased and a lot of Rakugo in this.
But the director very clearly had a very great love of both silence's power and subtlety, the power of subtlety. And that's something that I always appreciate because it's hard to pull off, but when you do it, it's really well. And this soundtrack kind of emphasized that a little bit.
This is kind of a tangent, but most of Erase, of course, was set in snowscapes with a lot of white stuff, and the strings really work with that. A lot of snow, Mark. Snow. Get your mind out of the gutter, brother.
No.
Well, am I not wrong? Strings, snow, winter.
Totally. Yeah.
All right,
I would say a piano accompanies that even more, just because I always associate piano with like
kind of like solitude.
Solitude and subtlety, and
absolutely
the kind of piano that you heard in this show. Obviously, piano can be very boisterous and happy as well. Quatraman, but
we don't need to talk about that here.
Piano can be very gay, meaning happy. All right, let's move on. What up, my boy? All right,
what up, Kiku?
Good old, the most beautiful man in anime history, probably.
Look how big his hands are. I'm sorry.
Say about big hands.
Is that a Trump joke?
No.
Okay, good.
No. Keep
all right.
that shit out of this.
All right.
My best male character, or best new character, parentheses, male, is Kikuhiko from Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju. I warned you guys that the show is going to be appearing a lot, and guess what? It is.
Surprise, surprise. One of the best written shows have the best characters.
Yep. Kikuhiko
Funny
is such
works.
a wonderfully flawed human character.
Oh my god, his flaws are what he's about.
His flaws are, so often in anime, it's very easy to dislike someone like Kikuhiko if they're portrayed in a very anime way. The good thing about Kikuhiko and this entire show in general is that it portrays so many very common tropes that appear in anime in such a relatable human way. And Kikuhiko is, I think, the best example of that, because Kikuhiko is, he's the kind of person that he deals with life by shutting himself completely away emotionally.
Well, the show itself was set up as like a classic tragedy, not so much an anime, but like it's Rakugo, so almost like a tragedy you would expect to see on stage, like a play.
It's very Shakespearean in places.
I was trying not to say that. I'm glad you picked it up, but that's what I was going for. Yeah, it's very Shakespearean.
Shakespeare's works are the ultimate tragedy, so it stands to reason that the show would kind of share parallels, and it certainly does. And it certainly has a lot of the same melodrama that Shakespeare, presents in his work. And obviously there are the Japanese, the Japanese standards of, stage plays that share those kind of melodrama as well, and I'm sure they took that into account. But Kikuhiko is he's, despite how bad of a person he is, and I do legitimately think that he is not a good person.
Everyone in that show except for Matsuda is kind of a bad person.
Yeah, he so perfectly kind of encapsulates what it is to be a person and to totally not fucking know what you're doing at any given time. I think he's thankfully very, like, for him, very like calm and collected and cool. And yet I feel like internally he literally does not know what he's doing ever. Like he's flying by the seat of his pants. He's just kind of taking what he can get, and his opinion can change 1 minute to the next based on like what is going to suit him. We
watched the final episode about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
I don't know how long into this podcast are we?
Yeah.
Now we watched it right before this.
Yeah, we should also say that like literally a couple hours ago that they announced that season 2 is going to be happening, and it's going.
Thank God, because I believe the novel series is done at
10 volumes. 10 volumes, and they ended about midway through the fifth one.
So it was I don't want to say it's a given because it's never given in anime,
No.
but I'm really glad that they gave us this given.
Yeah, this show is just way too good not to get a second season. And not good from like a sales perspective, good from like
No,
a artistic
it's
achievement
a
perspective.
good thing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I could have picked any character from the show who was male.
They're all
and
very, very strong characters.
they're all so flawed in such specific human ways that you very rarely see in anime. Like,
Anime is all about the tropes and this kind of...
this it's weird because it fits certain tropes.
Oh, yeah,
and
they
yet the
definitely
way
fit
that it
tropes.
navigates those is so not like anime at all.
That's because it's well written.
Yeah. Well, it's just written by, a person.
A person that's good at writing.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's move on.
Yeah, my
God fucking
my
damn
best
it.
new character was Paul Blart's son.
Why did you do this, Patrick?
Because I both hate and love you. Look at him. Look at him in all of his majesty. So my best new character was Paul Blart from... I'm kidding. April Fools. All right, mine was Kikuhiko too.
I hate you so much.
Oji-san Marshmallow was great though. We just talked about Kikuhiko. I really just want to echo what Mark said. It's the flaws that make you love him. He's far from perfect. He's our main character, and he's still lovable, even though he's really a huge dick. It's a well-written
He's a
character
dick
that
to
makes
cover
you...
for his own flaws.
Yeah.
Um,
He got dealt a pretty shitty hand in life.
Yeah, everyone kind of did in that show.
Yeah.
Honestly, the main three
Yeah.
definitely did. Honestly, I could have copped out and put Kikuhiko and Tsukiroku because I feel like
They're kind of inseparable. They're a pair.
they're both two sides of the same
Mm-hmm.
shit coin. Like, they're both not good people, but they're both not good people in very distinct ways that are different from one another. So yeah, I would say Tsukiroku probably gets our honorary runner-up on this one.
It was hard not to put him, especially because I knew you were going to do Kikuhiko. I kind of wanted to do
Yeah.
Sugiroko, but
Yeah.
I liked him more. Alrighty,
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, next one's kind of a no-brainer for me. I can't really. The only person that my best new character, female, is obviously Kaio Hinazuki from Erased. Only female character this season I say probably would have come close for me in terms of just pure depth and like exploration of a character would be Miyokichi from Showa Genroku
she was so
Rakugo
good.
Shinju. She was fantastic, and she was also voiced by Megumi Hayashibara, which just gave me chills every time she opened her mouth because it was a performance that I don't think she has given in probably 10 years. Kind of performance, I should say. But in terms of performance and in terms of just a character and just a force of nature, I personally don't think that there was a more significant character that appeared anywhere this season than Kaio Hinazuki. Satoru is basically the main character of Erased, but honestly, Erased would not be Erased without
The show
Kaio.
was so much better when she was around.
Every single emotionally poignant moment in that entire show, Kaio was involved.
I think the breakfast scene was probably the best scene this season. I can't think of something that was better in terms of just like pure catharsis.
Yeah, I liked the breakfast scene a lot, but honestly, I would say the scene... I mean, it's hard to say... It's hard to pick any one scene between her and Satoru's mom and try to say, like, oh, that's my favorite. But because, every single time that they interacted, I just melted. Like, it was just the most sweet, pure thing I could possibly imagine. But the scene where... and this is going to sound weird for people that haven't watched the show, but the scene when they take a bath together, which is a very normal thing for especially for people in Japan, but for parents and children to
It's a perfect show of like intimacy and goodness.
Yeah. It emphasizes that Kaio is comfortable in the situation that she's in, and it also emphasizes just what a good person Satoru's mom is. Like, Satoru's mom is literally the most wonderful mother in anime in a long time.
She's at the top of a large pyramid of great anime mothers.
She sure is. But yeah, I mean, like, it's hard without going on forever about how wonderful Aoyuki's performance was as Kaio, and just kind of how significant of a character she was both for that show and I would just say this entire season. Like, the show every single emotionally poignant moment, even into the future, when you see an adult version of her, like it's all her.
Yeah.
It's all her. Yes, that's it.
Alrighty. Moving on. I did, of course. So our rules are kind of weird, but I had to go with Shiryuki.
You're gonna have to explain this one to me.
You didn't like her?
I mean, I liked her. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say best character this season though, or best female character.
Did you finish it?
No, actually, I dropped it after episode 2.
See, I actually had Irie here first, just because of the amount of support she gave Satoru during Erase. But I had to go with Shiryuki Hime after looking it over again, because she is the perfect pinnacle of a good female protagonist. There is a romance, of course, and the romance is key to the story, but it doesn't define her. The whole thing is about her doing her own journey while still, I'm failing to find the words like I always do when put on the spot like this. But God, she's great. How far did you get?
I really find myself not saying that about characters that what's her name? Get help. Saori Hayami plays.
Yeah.
I rarely find myself saying that.
Her portrayal definitely helped from her.
I don't think that I've really ever. I personally have never seen a Saori Hayami character that I didn't think was absolutely wonderful.
She's definitely a chief of the bunch between her, her strong, I'm doing my own stuff, I'm strong, I'm going to save myself before anyone has a chance to save me, and her hilarious embarrassment every time Zen does, anything.
Romance shit.
Yeah, it's cute. Yeah, she's kind of like a perfect girl in the show, which is normally a detriment to a show, but they take her down just enough pegs that she's believable. She's not untouchable.
She's a manic pixie dream girl.
She is not.
She is.
What's manic about her? She's like the most grounded character ever.
She's a little weird.
Yeah,
she's
because she
strange.
likes herbs. All right, maybe she had a few too many mushrooms or something. I don't think she's manic pixie at all.
She's a manic pixie dream girl. She's the Zooey Deschanel of anime, and that's all right. That's okay.
I do like Zooey Deschanel.
That's okay.
We should move on.
We should give some honorable mentions before we move on, because I feel like
I said, I wanted to do Irie before.
Characters.
Oh, off the dome, this is going to be rough.
Off the dome. Let's
Way
talk
too
about.
much alcohol.
Let's get men out of the way real quick. Obviously, we already talked about everyone from the Rakugo show. I feel like Satoru probably should be on this honorable mentions list.
I don't know. Honestly, I felt like he was. I didn't feel like he was as much a character as he was moving the plot. He
was a
him,
vehicle for
wrong.
the audience to understand, but also at the same time, I feel like he was also very. I mean,
I'd pick Kenya over him. He seemed more interesting.
Granted,
to me.
he went downhill. The show, unfortunately, went downhill the further you got along with it.
Basically, any time it wasn't in the past.
Yeah, I like Satoru's story arc a lot. I like the. I kind of like his whole superhero motivation, because I definitely can identify with that.
Oh, absolutely.
It's totally. Any young kid, of course, given their chance to be a superhero. I want to give special mention to Haruhiko from Myriad Colors Phantom World.
He really manned up at the end there. He was
have to
probably
say
one of the
that
more believable protagonists.
Despite the fact that he was shoved into the most stereotypical of anime roles, which is the
harem
dark-haired harem lead, I think that he kind of broke out of that multiple times. I mean, that show kind of broke that formula a lot, but he kind of was super relatable and charming.
I relate to him a lot because I'm the random trivia nerd and I just spout shit and nobody gives a single damn.
It's just he was never all powerful. He was often the weakest link out of everyone.
Still managed to save the day,
even up until the end. And he saved the day. But I don't know. He has a great relationship with the characters around him. He definitely has a very, very, very good backstory, I would say. And I think he kind of he didn't break the trope, but he definitely broke the stereotype of, God, this fucking guy is boring.
Yeah,
he's not.
That was the main flaw with Konosuba. The main character was by far the worst part of that show.
Yeah.
He was a terrible light novel trope that just it would have been so much better with an interesting main character.
Yeah.
For another honorable mention, I'd have to go with the other Haru from Grimgar.
Yeah.
He's
That's
talk
good.
about growth in a character. Like
Yeah.
he goes from the thief staying in the back who's just upset that his party leader didn't, give him enough credit to the party leader.
Yeah, like the unwilling party leader.
Yeah. No, he's a great
he's pretty
character.
good. Ladies. Obviously, I already talked
Mary
about
and
Miyoguchi.
Yume.
Mary and Yume definitely. Yeah.
Shihoru's kind of boring.
Shihoru's a bit boring. She had probably the least character development out of everyone in that show.
Like they showed in the background with her just getting stronger, going from one magic missile to 4.
She was
in the
always
finale.
going to be the boring one out of the 3.
Which is kind of ironic because normally they focus on the silent big titted character. That's just how anime does. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
no, it is.
For better or for worse.
Mary was fantastic though.
Yeah,
I like
was good.
Yume a lot, but I ended up liking Mary a lot more in that show.
Yume's a trope. As much as
Yeah.
I like her, there's no depth there
Yume's
whatsoever.
very charming, but yeah, Mary, obviously they favored her over everyone else in that show for good reason.
I'm just sad we didn't get Choco, my
Yeah.
novel readers.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I didn't dislike any of the characters in Phantom World, but none of them had any
None of them
sort
were
of
strong.
depth.
No. Uru was pretty great.
Okay, Ruta was great.
I didn't.
Yeah,
I
no,
didn't
she
like
would be a good-
I didn't like the ending. How she was part of her Hiko.
That was always
kinda
destined to
weird.
happen.
Yeah.
Though. I thought that they were all I liked them all, but they definitely didn't have any real depth.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like they just didn't have enough time to go into any of their backstories really. I did really like the Phantom that they met in episode 4 or 5. That was the drama nerd. Who,
yeah, she was really cool.
She was pretty great.
Well, I liked the witch girl because that was fun. I just like witch characters.
Enigma.
No, not Enigma. The one before that. The one that made Uru a human.
Oh yeah, she was pretty good. I guess.
I just liked her design. That was it.
There's a lot of cute girls in that show.
Yeah, there were.
All right, let's move on. Best writing, another no-brainer, Erased. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I need to even explain this one, but
I keep on bringing Alfred Hitchcock when it comes to Erased, but that's because the director himself brings it up. Alfred Hitchcock has a somewhat famous quote to movie makers where he spells out the difference between a suspense. I'm way too drunk to remember this, to be honest, but it's the difference between a suspense, horror, and thriller.
yeah,
And this director walks all 3 lines, or rather the author does. The director obviously helps him, but it changes depending where in the show we are.
yeah. The pacing in this show was so perfect. It really it never dragged, it never rushed. Every single important moment happened exactly when it needed to. The tension was always palpable.
They were great at cliffhangers.
Yeah,
Talk
the
about
fantastic
perfect.
part about the show is that every single episode, whenever something good would happen, you would always be suspicious of it. You were never trusting yourself. All of the red herrings that they kept throwing at you,
Fucking
kind of
Yashiro
just
Sensei.
going back and forth and back and forth. Not to mention that the dialogue was just so poignant and it had such a gut punch with everything that they said. And a lot of that has to do with the direction, but just the way that the dialogue was written, it was believable, but at the same time, very dramatic.
I think the strongest part of the writing was putting us in the same mindset as Satoru as far as Yashiro Sensei is concerned. Well, obviously we were in the mindset of there's no way it's him because it's too obvious.
Yeah.
Because they had been hitting it since episode 3. I think they ended with him with the crazy eyes.
Yeah.
But for Satoru, it was all about how there's no way it's him. I trust him too much. But it really put us in the same exact mindset of our protagonist, which is, of course, a great element of writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anything that you can kind of just insert yourself into the show with little to no effort is an achievement. But this is just kind of an extreme example of that because you were fucking along for the ride this whole time. You were just on board I was on board from episode 1. It was just there and you're in. And you can't help it.
We're going to run out of words for Erase sooner rather than later.
Pretty much.
All right, I flip-flopped on this one. I had for best writing was actually Rakugo. Rakugo was kind of a a writer's showcase as far as they took known I don't want to use tropes here, but they are pretty much tropes. They took known elements of a story and define them through the characters, where you have the characters speaking in metaphor through their Rakugo. Like almost every time Rakugo was spoken in the show, it was a thinly veiled metaphor for the characters, which I almost want to say is too much, but obviously I don't think so because I put it as best writing.
There's a continuous theme both in dialogue and just in like efforts of every character in the show to there's multiple different times in the show where someone asks someone else, have you found your Rakugo?
Yeah.
Which literally, it could be taken literally, which means like, do you know what style of Rakugo that you want to do? Because there's many different styles, but it's really them asking like, do you know who you are?
Yeah.
Like, have you found yourself yet? Like what does your soul look like? And so much of the show can be taken on a surface level, or it can be taken in a very deep level.
We mentioned Shakespearean before. This is definitely in the same league as Shakespearean tragedies.
Yeah, cut and dry tragedy.
It is a tragedy,
top to bottom.
That's
but
classic definition.
Yeah, executed perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic melodrama, but not in the sense that like people are screaming and tears are flying and people are like throwing their arms up on their forehead. Like it's just a melodrama in the sense that like there's real palpable drama happening, and like the dialogue is very classical because it's a period piece. Which I think works so much in its favor. Like the fact that it's a period piece allows so much exquisite dialogue.
Making it a period piece really kind of like sets it's like, I want to say like a prison, but it makes sure that there are certain rules that you have to play by. Like it's this period, this is how people were, these are the things that were going on, and you have to play within those rules, and the writer nails it. Like the characters are, they're products of the time that they're living in, and they're products of the lives that they're living.
Yeah. I absolutely think that a generational story like what they're telling with the Rakugo, this show, is so important. Maybe my favorite method of storytelling in terms of showing kind of emotional depth. Like showing a character's progression through their life and showing how their actions are affecting those that will come after them, and how characters develop. Like even we were watching the last episode today, and something that really kind of hit me like a gun punch, and it really didn't, hit me until the episode was over, is, Konatsu, who is Tsukuroku and Miyokichi's daughter. She has a very particular manner of speaking. It's very like kind of coarse and violent, very punctuated, almost as if she's speaking in like a permanent staccato. And, you hear her speaking as a child so much, but by the time that you hear her speaking as a child, you've almost completely forgotten what she's like as an adult.
Yeah, we had like 10 episodes?
Yeah,
it was 8 or 9 episodes in between, I think.
But by the time that she shows up as an adult in the very last episode, like the last half of the last episode, and you hear those same vocal tics, but in a completely different voice, it's such a crazy impact.
What a like masterclass in voice acting that is.
I mean, you guys will see with my best voice acting pick. Like,
we flip-flop so much.
I know, it's kind of a no-brainer for me because it's just like it's a crazy like wonderful cycle that this show has between like the writers are writing such exquisite dialogue, and the voice actors are so talented and delivering in a way that is so uncommon nowadays that it's just it's crazy. it's hard to articulate. Like it's just like everyone on the show is at the top of their game, like the utmost talent, and they're using every ounce of it.
Alrighty,
let's move shit along.
Correction. We agreed on this one.
Yay! All right, so let's talk about it. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash.
Backgrounds.
Yeah, the backgrounds I would say are probably like 99.9% of the reason why I chose this show.
That's why I like wanted to watch the show in the beginning, because I saw the first trailer and I was like, oh my god, these watercolor backgrounds, holy crap! And then I went and I read some of the light novel and I was like, this might be kind of good.
Yeah. Yeah, just the use of color on this show was really nice. It was always very like kind of vibrant and stark. Lots of pastels, obviously, pretty much only pastels. You could probably see that if you're looking at the poster on YouTube. Like the whole show is pretty much just pastel after pastel. But the backgrounds are really nice. They're kind of like a mixture between like hand pencil sketches and
they're so good at
watercolor,
setting the mood. While this is obviously a story about survival in a world that they don't know, there's still like it's more about the world than them. I almost feel like sometimes
the world is very rugged and magical in Grimgar, and the fact that the backgrounds are so like rough, it kind of conveys the like wildness of the place that they're inhabiting. Not to mention that, but just like the like I said, the use of color is there's such a like it's not a stark contrast, but it's just enough of a contrast to give you like a slightly different feel and almost lull you into a sense of security between like the town, which is all like sunset colors and very bright, greens and blues that kind of melt away into red and orange and yellow. And then they go out into the world and they're kind of confident, and then some dude gets a fucking arrow through his heart, and you lull yourself into a complete false sense of security, and you're on, you're along the same, route as the characters, which I think that's, how they felt when fucking Minato got murked. But yeah, no, it's just, I really like the colors, and I really like
that's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, we're talking about best art direction. This show is very pleasing to look at. Absolutely.
Most of the time.
There were
last couple episodes maybe not so great, but
even then the art direction was fine. The art direction was fine. They just
animation not so much.
Yeah, that's something entirely different.
Yeah, but art direction was great. Backgrounds were great. I would say like just the production design on the show was really good.
Yeah, they definitely pegged the feel. I think
the world was very well fleshed out.
To take a like well-known type of anime story where you're like stuck in an MMO. Well, this is a fantasy world, maybe not an MMO. We don't really know. But they kind of they took it and they slowed it down, and the art was really great at setting that mood.
Totally. Yeah, I just it was really good. I liked it. Okay, best character design. I'm sure we probably differed on this.
Sure did.
I chose Myriad Colors Phantom World. I would say at first glance these character designs are somewhat unremarkable.
They're pretty light novel. However, I would point you to Kurumi-chan and the fact that her hair is actually bunny ears. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, they are. I would say that I like the design of the main characters. I really like their uniforms a lot. KyoAni always has very, very, very good, unique-looking school uniforms in pretty much every show that they ever do. And this was no different. Obviously, it's just not a school uniform that you would ever see in real life, which I love. I really like the fact that everyone's hair color kind of denotes their personality. With Mai, you kind of have like a light brown, which kind of brings to mind like being in between, because she can be very sweet and sentimental and also kind of a bitch. And just like punch the shit out of someone?
Yeah. Koito's hair is red because she is just a fiery brigand pretty much the entire time. Dudu has turquoise hair because she's a
fantastical beast.
Yeah, fantastical beast. And I can't remember Saori Hayami's character's name. I don't know why I can't. Reina. There you go.
There we go.
Reina. And Reina's hair is black because she's prim and proper and hides a dark secret, meaning she can eat a lot. But yeah, I honestly think the character designs in this show shine with the minor characters. All of the Phantoms had absolutely fantastic character designs.
This was a very, very good episodic show. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a great police procedural, but with weird Phantom martial art bullshit. But yeah, all the minor character designs really are just very stunning and unique. But I would just say I don't know, it's definitely, light novel trash for sure.
I wouldn't go that far. Okay.
It's trash. Let's be honest. It is
KyoAni trash though.
I know.
One man's trash.
Well, no. KyoAni's trash is everyone else's treasure.
There we go.
Because KyoAni is wonderful. And they demonstrated that with this show, they could do something incredibly unremarkable and still make it fantastic.
Yeah.
And I just I liked the characters.
It was solid. It was very
designs.
solid on a foundational level. Like you said, the characters really represent their personalities, which is something you always like to see in a character design.
I think that maybe also I think a lot of people might be judging KyoAni at an unfair standard because the only thing to measure KyoAni against is all their other shows. And all their other shows have really good character designs too. So it's like kind of hard to just be like, well, this is light novel, but like, damn, this is way better than most light novel anime, if not just all of them. I'm just gonna say that.
It helps when like 70% of anime are light novel trash.
Yeah.
Alrighty. I had Luck and Logic, which by all means was not a good show, but what it excelled at, it definitely excelled at.
Phantom World by all means was not a good show either, but you know what?
I enjoyed it.
Whatever.
I enjoyed Phantom World a lot more than I enjoyed Luck and Logic, but Luck and Logic did have good character design. How far did you get into the show?
I got like episode 6, maybe.
Yeah,
I definitely dropped it.
I mean, it's a
trading card show.
I'm trying to think of the best way to defend myself here because I feel like I'm going to have a lot of detractors.
I don't think you need to defend yourself in terms of character design. Probably everything
It's
else.
a trading card game. Well, good, because I don't think it was good at very much else.
I don't think it was either, but the character designs were fantastic.
Yeah, they took, there's more or less for every main character, there's like 3 designs. You have the main character, then you have their god or goddess, and then you have the like combined form, and all of them look really cool.
Yeah, they look great.
It's a trading card game at heart.
Did you finish
and that definitely was just, yeah, I finished it.
What happened with Yoshitsugu Matsuoka's character? Did he ever get paired with someone?
He got paired with Lucifer, like the big bad. He wound up getting like I wouldn't say mind controlled, but Lucifer being the devil, kind of appeals to him, and he says, well, if this is my way out and my way to finally get to be a contractor, then I'll take it. And instead of doing like a fair contract, Lucifer just like takes him over.
Okay.
It was an interesting plot. It's just
I didn't know that like Christian mythology played into the show at all.
It had a bit of everything. What was the other show where Maria the Virgin Witch had like every religion in it? This had a lot of Greek gods. It had a lot of Christian stuff. Like Athena and Lucifer were like the 2 main gods in this, which were interesting. But the design was great. The uniforms look cool. All the transformations are freaking great, and all the transformations reflect what the characters do and who they are and how they feel. And it was very good on a basic level like that. Anime is a very visual medium. True. And this, without even knowing anything about the show, you can look at this and kind of get what the characters are. You see Athena there, and then I'm pointing to it on my laptop. You can't see, but you see Athena with the blonde hair and everything. She looks very regal. You see, I can't even remember her name. The girl in the red, she's a fiery one who just wants to beat everybody up. You see the sniper. She's in black. She's going to hang out in the back. It's very, you know exactly what these characters are at first glance.
Same thing with Phantom World, man.
Yeah.
It's all about that color.
I think this one's just a little less subtle.
I mean, it's a trading card show. What else can you say about it?
It's coming out, and the trading card is coming out in English pretty soon. I think I'll probably buy a pack.
Is this Bushiroad?
Okay. Bushiroad, definitely Bushiroad.
Okay. All right. Best voice acting.
Yeah.
In parentheses, overall, I don't really know why I put overall.
I didn't have that on mine, but I made mine match yours.
Yeah, this one is another Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinji.
When you have characters in a show acting something inside the show and doing it well, it's hard to give it to anything else.
Yeah. As this was probably, honestly, the toughest one for me, only because, I would put Erased on the same level as this.
That's good because I chose Erased.
Yeah, I would put Erased on the same level as this, only because they both did such great things with voice acting, but in such completely different ways.
Yeah, one of them was going further into voice acting, and the other was ignoring the fact that they were Seiyu.
Yeah. I would say that the Rakugo show kind of... I would say it's almost like verbal gymnastics, in the sense that all of the characters that did Rakugo fucking did Rakugo. Like, these voice actors had to learn Rakugo for this show.
That's the coolest thing.
In terms of Japanese culture, that is not a thing that you do over a weekend.
No,
now, granted,
Rakugo's...
voice actors are especially suited, I think, to doing Rakugo, because Rakugo very often involves doing, voices. And obviously voice actors that have, a very defined range are very capable of doing something that, your layman would not be able to enter. And also they have the advantage of not having to actually do the physical part of Rakugo and sit in Seiza and use the fan and, all that stuff. But still, they had to do Rakugo. And they trained with they had a Rakugo master on staff, and they trained with him. And yeah, it's...
All the Rakugo is completely believable, too. Like, it sounds like...
Totally.
I know most of the viewers haven't listened to Rakugo, but I'm a fucking weeb, and I've definitely closed my eyes and just listened to a Rakugo recording because of this show. Grant, I hadn't done that before. I didn't even do that for Joshiraku, but I did go back and listen to some Rakugo, and I was like, wow, these guys are good at Rakugo.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty... It's definitely a love letter to kind of a lost medium, I would say, because Rakugo, I think... Really,
still there. They showed at the end of the show. It's a dying art form, but it definitely still exists.
It's preserved as a historical record more than it is used as entertainment, like it was. It's kind of gone into like a higher level of performance, only because it's like it's like Shakespearean theater. People don't go out on the town and get shit-faced and then go to the Globe Theater and watch Shakespeare. They dress up. It's a fancy affair.
I take a random plane to a Stratford upon Avon and
but yeah, I just think this show is a big achievement in acting, and while it might not have been as, I would say, realistic dialogue-wise as Erased, I would say that it wasn't designed to be. It's a melodrama, and there's a lot
characters
of
playing characters.
It's and also it's pretty hard for me to not pick a show that has fucking Koichi Yamadera and Megumi Hayashibara acting opposite each other for
a pretty strong pair.
One of the first times since they did in Cowboy Bebop. That's hard for me to go against, because just the IRL meat space importance of that is very high. But the fact that it just, I loved Erased so much, and I loved the voice acting, but hearing them act like at each other for even one scene, it's a goddamn masterclass. Like, it is, they're literally two of the best voice actors alive, period. And to hear it's like, it's like freaking Al Pacino and De Niro acting.
I want to see them do some Rakugo.
Yeah, it's that equivalent. It's just they're giving a masterclass the entire time that any of them are on screen. It's just it's incredible. So yeah, I love it. Let's move on.
Well, mine was, if it wasn't Rakugo, what else would it be?
Yeah, there's only two shows that you can really pick this season.
I feel bad for not picking Rakugo because everybody in Rakugo was great. You had Miyokichi and Sukeroku and Kikuhiko, obviously, all doing a great job. But in Erased, there were two characters, obviously, that stood out. Satoru and, of course, Hinazuki. Where Hinazuki is, God, I can't believe I can already call her a veteran. Yuki Aoi, she started more or less with Madoka. She's still young, but oh my God, her performance as an abused little girl was...
I would say it borders on game changing, honestly. Like,
she was...
There were moments in the show where, anime is it's anime most of the time.
It's anime. It's
and
not
when,
always
when
serious.
When a 20-something-year-old voice actress is
She's
voicing
like 20.
a child...
I think she's 20 or 21, yeah.
You can definitely tell that they are not a child. There were times in the show when Arayuki was acting as if how old are they in the show? 9 or 10, something like that?
They're in like early middle school, I think. Or no, they're in 5th grade.
Elementary school,
yeah. So like 10 or 11.
Yeah. There were times where I legitimately forgot that Arayuki was like not an actual child. Like,
no,
some of
so
the
good.
laughs that she was able to produce were so like eerily similar to like a child's laugh, and like the way that a child speaks. It was,
and then her crying
kind
and her
of terrifying,
bacchanal.
honestly. Like,
that's even just talking about her. I made the picture
bone-chilling.
in here. Her, yeah. But Satoru, the director made an interesting choice for adult Satoru and didn't choose an anime voice actor. He chose a regular actor.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, after seeing this, I wonder if that's going to happen more often for drama shows, because, oh my God, he nailed it.
Yeah, he gave
that was
a very
hell of a performance.
It was believable.
It was so much more. It was so much more conversational.
Yeah.
Everything, and for a character like Satoru, especially him and his relationship with his mother, just bouncing back and forth. Oh, it was fantastic.
His internal dialogue whenever he was speaking as himself, like, just sounds like someone that's actually just talking to themselves.
And of course, the child version, of course, was an anime voice actor. Obviously, not the same one as the adult, but they did great too.
Yeah. Yeah, they were both fantastic in very distinct ways, and I like the rest of the voice actors on the show did a fantastic job too. Yeah. Like, they all gave very measured.
Kenya was fantastic. Yashiro Sensei was like perfectly terrifyingly creepy.
His mom was such a mom.
She's so good.
Like, but like, it's such a very specific kind of mom that you just kind of don't see in
she's like
nowadays.
Like, she's almost like a village mother, I guess. She's I don't know what the name of the stereotype
time she spoke,
archetype
you could just tell like the amount of care that went into everything that she did.
I wonder if the voice actress was a mother in real life.
Oh,
I figure she's got to be.
I'm sure
she's got to be.
Yeah.
All right.
Fantastic. All right.
Waxing poetic about that. Hey,
Best
look.
Direction. Did we agree on this?
I don't think so. Actually,
probably not. We rotated on this.
We rotated on so many between Erased and Rakugo.
Yeah. So my Best Direction award goes to Erased. This is another hard decision, but honestly, it kind of is a no-brainer for me. We were talking about Alfred Hitchcock earlier, and even if it was somewhat unintentional, those of you guys that have listened to this show know that I am probably the biggest fan of Mamoru Oshii alive. And the director of Erased, in terms of the way that he framed his establishing shots, and the way that
shots were totally Oshii's. He's fucking stole them.
I wouldn't go that far, but he's definitely giving an homage. He's giving a very dignified homage to Mamoru Oshii and his.
That's a nice way to frame a thief. I'm kidding. Go on. I'm sorry.
The show is very emblematic of, I would say, a style of directorial storytelling that has kind of fallen out of favor, only because I would say that it runs the risk of being boring a lot nowadays if it's not done right, and I can definitely see that. There's a reason that Mamoru Oshii is very well known for it, and kind of no one else is.
It takes a lot to get it right. It's really easy to bore somebody with the length of the establishing shots.
Erased fucking nailed it every single time that they showed those big factory blocks with snow falling in the background, or a long snow covered street with just a single spotlight coming from the top, or all the wide panning shots of them standing in the park.
I think the best directorial trick was actually just making the ratio different from the history or from the past version, as opposed to right now, even though it was 2006. 2006 versus 1988.
Yeah, pretty much presenting the vast majority of his show in letterbox widescreen. But in addition to that, his use of both silence and just pure, unadulterated subtlety, just shots that last 5, 6, 7 seconds, just wide pans, and it's a very I say impersonal, but I mean impersonal in the sense that it's meant to convey isolation. It's meant to convey almost like a devastation. It's a past that not only does Satoru kind of not want to visit again,
he definitely doesn't.
But also I think the entire country of Japan would rather not go back to
Northern Hokkaido in the 80s, pre-bubble was not
a fucking steel town. It was a factory.
Outside of the characters, the whole thing's kind of
it's very
gray.
Bleak. Yeah, it's very bleak.
Gray and bleak and snowy.
It's beautifully bleak, and it's so wonderfully emblematic of just the 80s. It's so the 80s to me. I just think of it's fucking horrible. I can't imagine.
It wasn't great up there.
But yeah, no, it's just the first time that Satoru goes back to 88 or whatever the exact year is, and you see, his environment and how it compares to like, summertime Tokyo in like '06. It was like a much brighter time, obviously. It's a stark contrast. And not to mention that, but like all of the film strip segments.
So good. Those were anime original too. The manga author was like, I had nothing to do with that, but I like it.
Visual metaphors were very constant. The one thing that I think I remember more than anything else was the breakfast scene, like we were talking about, where Kaio is looking at this basically to her a smorgasbord in front of her food, and then she closes her eyes and sees what she usually eats in black and white, and it's like a single piece of like gross toast, and then she opens it back again and realizes like where she is and just like breaks down. Fantastic directing.
I think
kind of a textbook move.
The most obvious non-subtle thing, because there were a lot of subtleties in his directing, but the most obvious thing was the red equals violence. Well, we do see visual metaphors in anime a lot. It's possible to say we don't with like Monogatari almost every season and stuff like that. But when it's played well and obvious so that even people who don't think too hard about their Chinese cartoons can get them, like the red and it's good. Yeah. It works out without knocking you over the head. Yeah.
And it's a great way to red herring the fuck out of you.
Because, oh my God, because everybody who shows red, you're just like, oh my God, maybe it's him, maybe it's her, maybe it's them.
The other thing that comes to mind is the last episode where Satoru is just like full on Gandhiing, and is just like the sun is like shining from behind.
That was one part where I was like, all right, this is a bit much. Yeah, the fucking like God rays coming behind him. But even then, back to the red eyes, it was great because he's hanging over the edge of the building, and Yashiro Sensei has the red eyes. And then the red eyes fade back to his normal ones, which means a lot. Yeah. One, Yashiro doesn't mean to hurt him anymore. And two, he's completely safe despite the fact that he's hanging off the side of a hospital in a wheelchair.
Well, not to mention the fact that that in that exact moment, Yashiro has resigned himself to defeat. He knows that he's lost. Yeah. And there's nothing that he can do. And so he's just like,
well, it was good on very, very many levels.
And it also kind of challenges your notion of like what a villain is, because in that moment, any other villain would have become insanely violent and tried to just end it all. Despite gone full the fact. Joker. But Yashiro just kind of resigns himself to his fate and is just like, well, I tried, even though I'm a fucking crazy murderer. I tried.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that! I had Erase as well. Actually, okay, cool. I thought I had Rakugo. I guess not.
I guess
shows what I know.
Didn't.
All right, well, I think we spoke enough about that.
All right. Let's get on to the best 3D CGI.
There were not a lot of choices for this.
No. Bubuki Baranki won by default for me because it is a 100% CGI show.
Yeah. And a 100% CGI show that didn't look bad.
It never decreased in quality once.
No. That's the nice thing about CGI.
Yeah. You don't have a drop-off.
It's not really
Usually
gonna...
you don't have a drop-off. When you're dealing with
it's not like you're going to stop drawing in-betweens.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grimgar.
Jesus. Yeah, no, I mean, Bubuki Baranki, it looked great.
It looked good. That's another one that I haven't seen the final episode of.
Yeah.
I started to watch it, then I fell asleep, and
I
was like, I'll watch the final episode before the next course starts.
Yeah, it's getting another core. There is a gross lack of the American team in that.
I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for Entei, I probably wouldn't be watching anymore. I like Entei. She's cool.
I was kind of back and forth until the American team showed up, and then now I want to see what
they're so dumb, but I love them.
I really
actually the American team was very close to taking my number one for character design just because of the American team.
So awesome! Oh my god!
Not only that, one thing I want to mention. I know we're already done with character design, but the Russian team, the twins, they're a hammer and sickle. Oh my god, I love it. It's so good, but so bad. And their voice actresses
are Yu Kobayashi and someone else. But I don't care because it's fucking Yu Kobayashi.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She's amazing.
Crazy monkey woman. That's exactly what she is.
I know.
She'd call herself that.
I know.
All right.
But yeah, no, it's just like, it's kind of a default, like by default win. She's like, the show looked great.
Sanji again, it looks good as CGI.
Yeah, that's all you can really say. Looks good.
Well, mine was different. Yeah, I know. I feel so bad for putting Luck and Logic twice, but I did like Bubuki Baranki's CGI, but I don't want to say it's a cop out because Sanjigen is.
It's a cop out. You can say that.
Yeah, okay,
I fucking thought about it. I was just like, well, what other show am I going to give it to that I finished?
Well, Luck and Logic, I felt actually did pretty good at incorporating the CGI to the show. Obviously, it wasn't seamless. You can tell every time he goes CGI, unlike some of the I don't want to say better, but unlike some of the other shows that use CGI, like Active Raid, I guess I wasn't gonna put Active Raid in here. Fuck.
Why would you?
Yeah, it looked good. They made it obvious from the beginning that the action scenes are going to be CGI, and it worked for this show.
Yeah.
Given the production values of the show and the way the schedule was set up.
I forgot that about that show. I forgot
that the action was CGI?
Yeah, the action was CGI.
It looked pretty good. It was I guess what allowed me to put it here is the CGI was well directed. Every time it went to CGI, they definitely used shots that they otherwise could not have done using hand animation. It just would not have been realistic.
I'm going to look up who did the CGI for this show.
Ooh,
I want to say that it's Studio Orange who did Ghost in the Shell, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I could definitely believe that. Ooh, I just poked the mic. That was good.
Logic.
Sorry
Let's
about that, guys.
this up.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta keep talking while Mark's looking this up.
Yep.
But like I said, the action scenes, it was super obvious, but it was well played out. You knew it was coming. It didn't look terrible. It just became part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like for me, I think obviously I couldn't even consider Luck and Logic because I didn't finish it, but I would say that like a sleeper contender for this would probably be Myriad Colors Phantom World, only because KyoAni really took
in that were the effects, right?
Yeah, but the effects were really fucking good in that
they
show. They
out-affected UFO Table. That's something.
I was going to say, they took the UFO Table approach where it was like, it's the animation itself, like all the characters' animation is all very good 2D animation, but all the effects
are computer-generated.
Computer. And a lot of the environments in Phantom World were like...
Really?
Like all the, like, when they first introduced Koito and all the, like, warehouse scene...
Oh, the Ayashiki stuff was all CGI.
All fucking CGI.
I didn't even notice, which I guess means it's good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of 3D graphics right there. Yeah, you were right. It's orange.
Orange? Yeah. I remember talking about this in our preview episode for this season.
But
yeah, no, that's not surprising. They did Standalone Complex.
Yeah,
and
Orange is a solid company. So we got Orange and Sansigen, and that's where you got a lot of words. I hope.
Sorry about this, guys.
Almost there. All right, moving.
All right,
on.
Let's move on.
Best animation.
Best Sakuga.
Best Sakuga. We agreed on this one. I'm pretty
no
sure.
brainer. Myriad Colors.
I had a webm for this even.
Look at that.
I went above and beyond. Yeah, honestly, it wasn't a question for me.
Was this the last episode? The second to last.
This was the last, actually.
Yeah,
this was the last. I tried to put in a thing that didn't have too many spoilers in it.
My only argument for this would be that someone on Reddit posted a webm of it's just like KyoAni's second to last, KyoAni's end of the season, and then everyone else's end of the season, and KyoAni's end of the season looked really good, and then Grimgar was just
my god, they were
Powerpuff Girls quality. Like, oh my god.
It's a complete honestly like it's a meme in the Sakuga community. They call it Sakuga Hokai. Hokai doesn't really have a direct translation, but it's like almost like falling apart, I guess. Yeah. And it's a thing that you see every season without fail.
With most things.
Unless it's KyoAni, because KyoAni doesn't know what Hokai means.
KyoAni is just... If there's one thing that KyoAni does better than maybe any other studio, it's just your fucking traditional 2D animation.
Yeah, and it's consistent as all hell.
It's never off model. It's always well done. It's always very, very, like, stylistically them. Like, you can always tell when something is KyoAni because
because it's robotic. Yeah. And I mean that in a good way. I love Sakuga. I'm definitely a Sakuga fan. It's one of my favorite things about anime. What's great about Sakuga is you can almost always tell who drew something by their artistic flair, but KyoAni is the antithesis to that.
Yeah.
One of the great things about KyoAni is you have no idea what artist drew each scene because they keep it under wraps because it doesn't matter. It's KyoAni. They're one of the only studios with a complete, like, comprehensive look.
Yeah. KyoAni is, they have a continuous look that is just, I mean, it's present in everything that they make now. Like, all the character designs are all very similar. I mean, if you've seen...
What happens when a studio makes enough money to be their own production committee?
Yeah. Like, I remember seeing Free and being like, okay, these are some pretty cool character designs, and then watching Amagi Brilliant Park, which is about the most different show to Free than you could possibly get. And remember seeing the main character and like the way he was animated and the way he was portrayed, was just like, this is a fucking Free character. Yeah. Like, it's this. I mean, and it's the same thing with everything, and it's just like this show is so strange because it's I would say it's not necessarily outside of KyoAni's wheelhouse, but in terms of like the past couple of years, it definitely is. Like they don't really make stuff.
A lot
like
of people
this
in the
anymore.
beginning, especially with this show, Animagi Brilliant Part, were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe KyoAni's doing a fan service."
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Well, here's the thing about that is that like
They've always
people
been
that aren't
doing it.
knowledgeable, I kind of I can't blame them for thinking that, but at the same time, you can't fucking think that KyoAni's just gonna play a fan service show
Hyoka had
straight.
no less than 3 episodes about male gaze.
Yeah, but at the same time, like they really kind of took the Kill la Kill approach here and just like kind of got it all out of the way in the beginning,
Yeah, they
and
did.
then just really
They
relied
definitely
on the
lowered it.
characters and the storytelling to
But
kind
at
of.
the same time, if you play this scene frame by frame, there's a lot of my panty shots in it. Well, they're
Well,
bloomers,
that and there's
but-
also a lot of individual tit bounces for my pretty much in
yeah.
every piece of
Good old
Sakuga that she
Enigma.
appears in. But yeah, it's just I mean like
Look at those
it
smears when
fucking-
Mai's flipping.
It speaks for itself. Like the
It's so well directed.
KyoAni's
It's,
fight choreography is very particular. Their effects are always very particular. The colors that they use are always very particular. And the fact that they like literally never have a shot that ever appears off model is them.
This is one of the few awards that I felt was a complete no-brainer.
Oh yeah, I mean especially this
If
season.
nothing for consistency.
There wasn't really another animation showcase this season as much as
No, it
Phantom
was really
World
this.
was, which is ironic because Phantom World I think is one of the most inconsequential shows of the season in terms of just like
This is completely forgettable.
completely forgettable, but I will not forget it because it's
I'll always
I
forget it.
really legitimately enjoyed the show.
It was a good show. It was something to look forward to
It's
every
also like
Tuesday.
just it's hard to forget KyoAni shows. You're always, I mean, even if you like forget it, as soon as you see something that will remind you of it, you're like, oh shit, you remember that show?
Yeah,
And then you're
that's
like, oh
pretty good.
yeah, I had fun watching that.
Yeah,
I mean, which
that is
like
true because
the
I'm thinking
absolute
back.
bottom of the barrel for what you would ever say for a KyoAni show is I enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, I remember thinking back to
Not like it changed my life.
I remember thinking back
changed my life.
to Boundary, like, Edge of the Boundary, Kyokai no Kanata. Thinking, man, this show is really not that great. But you know what? When the movie came out, I was like, fuck yeah, let's do this. I'm ready. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
if they
KyoAni in a
announced the
nutshell.
second season of Phantom World, I would be
I'd
fucking
be like, all right,
ecstatic.
yeah, let's fucking go.
I
I'm
would
ready.
be like, any more KyoAni shit, give me more of it. Like I don't care what it is, just give me more of it.
Always looking good.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Best adaptation.
Best
All right.
adaptation. Again, no brainer for me. Showa Roku Rakugo Shinju.
Is this a light novel or a novel? I think this is an
I think
actual
it's a
novel,
series. Yeah.
Don't see a lot of those, but honestly,
look
they're
that up.
normally like higher caliber. I'll be completely honest. Not saying light novels are trash, but light novels are definitely trash.
Oh, you mean novels compared
I mean,
to light
novel
novels?
versus light
oh,
novel.
Fuck yeah. Light
Yeah,
novels are
obviously.
glorified fan fiction most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
which is not bad. But you know, if you're writing about Rakugo, you can't be writing Rakugo.
This says it's a
fanfiction.
manga series. I could swear it was a novel.
You might
I mean,
be thinking
I knew
you might
there
be
was a
thinking
manga.
of Joker Game, which is kind of in the same pathos as this show
Maybe.
and is based on a novel series. Yeah, actually, you're right. It's fucking Kodansha published this. Yeah,
That doesn't
Yep.
mean anything.
you're right. No, I mean like, I'm just saying that because I knew that at one point and forgot.
It's a thing that happened.
Yeah, yeah, it is a Japanese manga series illustrated by Haruko Kumoda. Oh, it was written by a lady. No wonder it's. So
I
fucking
did know
good.
that. I did know it was written by a lady, which is great. That explains,
That
why the
explains-
female characters are so good.
It explains why all the characters are well written.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That's fucking awesome. It was adapted into 2 OVAs, which were bundled with special editions of the 7th and 8th manga volumes. Why did I never hear about this?
I didn't either.
Huh.
It doesn't matter. I'm just reading the wiki page
Fuck
at this
it.
point. Let's talk about what makes it a good adaptation.
Oh,
Mark.
the OVAs were literally done by the exact same staff. Okay, yeah. They were proof of concept for the anime series because they were done by Studio Dean, directed, written, and scored by the exact
It's the same shit.
Yeah, same shit. All right. Yeah, well, I mean, what more can I say about this show?
I mean, I imagine it was a good manga, and you know what? It made a good anime.
I purposefully, before we did this, I can't say I read all of the manga up until this point, but I definitely scanned the majority of the first 5 volumes or chapters or whatever you want to say. And yeah, I mean, it's about as flawless of an adaptation as you could possibly hope for. The character designs are completely faithful. All of the colors are exactly what you would think. The writing is pretty much the same. I mean, it's kind of to me, it's to me, it's a no-brainer. I was going to pick Erased for this, but the more I heard people speak about Erased after it had ended, the more I realized that they actually did change a lot for the anime, and I realized that.
Well, I don't know necessarily that best adaptation is something that doesn't change anything.
No,
Sometimes
no,
the best
no.
adaptation can be changing stuff better for the
I would
medium.
say it's the golden ratio between faithfulness and I would say optimization.
There we go. Good word.
And I would probably say that I think that Shogen Rakugo Shinju was probably better optimized for the screen than Erased was, only because I feel like, unfortunately, the only very little suffered in both of these adaptations.
It's a close race.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think the main thing that suffered in Erased that I don't really think has an equivalent in the Rakugo show is Satoru and what's her name in the present day storyline with the long hair. Airi's relationship suffered. And reasonably so, because obviously the anime is going to be mostly about Satoru and Kaio and, that kind of thing.
Like I've said a couple times this episode already, I felt like the history section of Erased was a lot stronger than quote-unquote present day.
Definitely.
Which is a shame because Airi winds up with him at the end, and I feel like they kind of shaved that off.
They did. I think they left it a lot more open-ended. I think instead of it being a very clear romantic setup, they left it as oh, thank goodness I got to see her again kind of thing, and kind of left it open-ended and interpreted by the viewer, which is totally fine. I think that's okay, but I would have liked to see more of Airi in the show because they really put a lot of emphasis on her importance when he went back and was on the run from the police.
We had so many flash forwards, I guess, to her.
Yeah, and I don't think that's necessarily an issue with pacing. I just think that, you only have 12 episodes for this shit, man. That's a lot of shit to pack into 12 episodes. They did a really good job with it, but I just think, I think Rakugo did it better, honestly.
Yeah.
In terms of what I know about the source material versus what got animated, I think they did it better. But,
I had something completely different.
I had not even considered this only because I feel like Haikyuu exists on a completely different level in my mind.
I was looking at the way I did this because I have a bad habit of forgetting things that are running is I literally just open up the chart. I was like, what was good? And then I was like, I have a feeling Haikyuu isn't going to show up in our awards at all, even though we both absolutely fucking love Haikyuu. Yeah. So
it's
kind of adaptation.
It's
all right.
It's
it's in its own league.
Yeah, it's a constant,
Yeah, it's one of those shows that you can go every week and think, oh my god, fuck yes, it's Haikyuu time.
But then it's something you take for granted.
Absolutely.
And I wish it wasn't that way. But when you have a show that's running for 26 episodes and it's
the second season
so
of 26
consistently
episodes.
good every single week, it's it's easy to get complacent in that sort of atmosphere.
But as far as it being an adaptation is concerned,
I
haven't read the manga, unfortunately, but there's some guy on Reddit that goes through and he posts, here's what it looked like in the manga and here's what it looked like in the anime for a lot of the highlights. And talk about an adaptation, it might as well be the frame animated.
Yeah, it's shot for shot, really.
At the same time, somehow adding the music, whether it's, I noticed they use a lot of saxophone jazz frills when Oikawa's around, the really high tension stuff, and they use other instruments for the other characters, almost like a leitmotif style. But it is, I try not to use flawless, but
in
terms of adaptation,
it is about as near perfect as you can possibly get.
Yeah, you can't really hope to
so
be
much so that I had
close.
never even considered mentioning in this because I didn't think it needed to be mentioned because I thought everyone knew how perfect and pure Haikyuu was. But
pretty much,
it is it's just the fucking best, man.
It's kind of what people should strive for. I feel like.
Oh, totally.
Not only in
just sports anime, it's the pinnacle of modern sports anime.
Yeah, they didn't add much of anything to the manga, but like I said when Mark was talking about his adaptation, there's sometimes an adaptation is good because it knows what to leave out and what to add, and sometimes an adaptation is good because it leaves well enough alone.
Yeah.
Sports manga is one of those times where you should probably leave well enough alone.
Yeah. Well, and luckily for everyone, the Haikyuu manga is expertly paced and expertly designed and expertly illustrated.
I'm wondering what's going to happen in season 3 because where this season ended, where they finished the semifinal, and now they've got the final match.
Yeah, I legitimately
they're still in the final match in the manga.
In the manga, yeah, I legitimately don't know what's going to be happening with that. So I mean, they certainly can't space one match for 26 episodes.
I hope it continues being the best adaptation. I don't know. There might be enough flashbacks to keep it to 26 episodes.
I hope not.
That would suck.
Be fucking insane.
That would be like
that would mean that there literally be 2 points an episode if it was a 2-set match. 3
Nope.
or like 1.5 if it was a 3-set, which it probably will be.
Oh,
if it
definitely
happens.
a 3-set.
I
I hope they lose.
I don't know. Part of me hopes they lose.
I hope they put that one douchebag in his place, but I hope they lose overall. I hope it's the team behind the douchebag that says you can't grow from concrete. I forget his name, but you know who I'm talking about.
I would say that half of me probably hopes they lose, and then the other half of me remembers Yomushi Pedal and how much I like that ending, and kind of hopes that something like that happens.
I kind of hated that ending.
I fucking loved it. Because
it's
so
mad.
pure. It's like it's another double reverse.
Well, why did he win?
Red herring. Because his smile carried him across the finish line.
But there's
Also,
so
at
many
the
more
same
years
time,
in high school left.
Here's the thing with Yomushi Pedal is that first of all, it's very close to a sports anime in all caps. Second of all,
I think it kind of is. About the time we had the Hiroshima team becoming a giant snake.
It's still very realistic in the terms of how they approach
the
cycling.
Peloton
it's just
and
how they manifest like superpowers and shit like that. And like Midosuji's chin dragging across the ground and his tongue lolling out and almost getting caught in his spokes.
And riding in the gutter is a real thing. I saw
Only
the
reason why I think the ending of Yomushi Pedal is believable is because Onita didn't beat Fukutomi or Arkita or any of the other dudes on the team. He beat someone who was on his level. Yeah. And that makes sense. Now, the fact that when they're about to gear up to go up the hill and Kinjo's just like, oh shit, my leg, you gotta go, and like just like fell off his bike and that was it. And then Naruko pedaled so hard that he turned blind temporarily, and Imaizumi was just like, oh shit, my frame's cracked.
And that's why I say it's an all-cap sports anime.
Yeah, I mean, there's that.
Well,
yeah, I don't expect them to like.
Now that we're talking about Yopeta, a show that hasn't been on for about a year.
Listen, man, season 3 has already been announced, and season 3, if this has been announced, it's gonna be a fucking good year for sports anime.
It is.
You got fucking Days.
When's my curling anime? We have a rugby show.
Not high speed. Yeah, they're bringing back that swimming anime Kyoani did. No, they're fucking All Out. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
that's gonna be 26 episodes.
I'm really looking forward to the fucking rugby anime.
Awesome. This is gonna be a good year.
Let's move on.
It's gonna be a good year, y'all. All right.
Well, you're gonna hate my answer for this.
I probably will. All right, best original production. This is
completely fair.
I would say that this kind of came out of nowhere for pretty much everyone.
After G-Rec, oh fuck.
Yeah. I love how much old school Gundam fans hate this show.
It's great, isn't it?
I love the salt.
This is a new school Gundam show. This is for anime fans now who want to get into Gundam.
This is the show that needed to happen.
Yeah.
This is the show that needed to happen to carry Gundam into a new thing.
New age.
Even if it doesn't change anything, it at least changes the fact that Gundam is based on the most tired ass 30-year-old trope. I mean, like literally just been recycling the same characters over and over again. And that's fine because like Gundam is like it's a force of nature. Like you don't really need to change the stuff that often until something like this or oh boy.
Might be.
We good?
We good.
Okay.
We cool.
Yeah, something like this comes along and kind of, I mean, was it perfect? Fuck no.
No.
I mean, the middle of the season was mediocre as shit.
The ending is very debatable too.
Well, I wouldn't debate it because I really liked the ending.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I enjoyed the direction it went, but as a show watching it, I definitely enjoyed it.
I would say that my enjoyment of the ending is very determinant on what actually happens in the second season, and if it is a completely separate thing than the first season, or if they try to like bring a bunch of shit. I think
it depends on whether Orga was right or Marybit was right.
Yeah.
That's going to depend, or that's going to determine
something
how much I
tells me, based on the universe of the show, that Orga was definitely right.
Yeah, I know.
Because all those kids are banned for blood, and the only thing that they were pretty much ever raised to do is fight wars. And as much as Marybit kind of wants to protect them as a mom, that's not how war works.
That's what's good about it, though.
Yeah, I mean that's what's fantastic is you're always challenged as to the notion of like, what are our characters' true motivations? Like, fucking Mikazuki is the most confusing, appalling... Dude, the scene where, what's her name, challenges them to a duel, and he just fucking destroys...
Carta Issue.
I felt like physically sick in that scene.
No, I was like 4 or 5 episodes behind, and I caught up to everything except for the final episode, and when going, I was like, whoa, this show got terrifying.
It's
just the direction
scary.
it went was like legitimately scary.
The whole scene, the whole like basically sequence where they're trying to break the Gallarhorn defense line and get into Edmonton is like very depressing. Like just seeing all these characters that you've ridden along with just die
for
senselessly.
No good reason.
Just to try to like throw themselves against. It's very bleak, and like the
so the word I would use was terrifying.
Yeah,
like the entire time I was like I'm not enjoying watching this, but at the same time the fact that a show can make me feel like, oh my god, I'm not enjoying this because it's means it's probably good.
I would say I would kind of challenge the notion too that like you've not seen the last episode?
I have not seen the final episode.
Do you care?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the final episode,
I've been spoiled anyway.
You already know about what's his name? The like
Marc and I?
No, the subordinate of the purple-haired dude who they like made into like a
Not
Gundam
chocolate,
cyborg.
But
yeah. They made him like a crazy, scary Gundam cyborg, and he's in this
like the most
huge
terrifying
mobile.
part,
he's like in this huge mobile suit, and he's getting all like zealotry and shit. So in the last episode, in maybe the coolest sequence in the entire show, they're driving into the city on a mobile worker in like a very small convoy, and they start to see all the view screens go out by them, and they're like, what the fuck is happening?
It's an Ahab reactor.
Yeah, and he's like, Orga literally looks up, and the mobile suit is like dropping down like in front of them, and he's just like, they brought an Ahab reactor into the city.
Yeah.
He's just screaming. And then he like literally rears up his giant axe, and then you just hear a bang from the opposite side of the street, and Mikazuki is just like flying down.
That's how the second.
But he ends up, because it's the whole point of the final battle is to like illustrate the difference between like he's got like a direct neural link with the machine, whereas Mikazuki has the next best thing, which is the Alaya Vinyana system.
I don't know why they call that in the subs, because they very clearly say Alaya Shiki. Whatever.
I don't know.
Alaya Vinyana,
lore with that shit
whatever,
is. It's dumb. But Mikazuki is like at an inherent disadvantage, even though he has been at an advantage against every other opponent because they're using direct input via like physical controls, whereas he's got like a neural interface built into himself, which is considered barbaric by the majority of mobile
makes him less than human.
So he's just like basically does your standard like mecha anime like protagonist. He's just like, give me all you got, Barbados. But instead of like him just like screaming and powering up, he starts bleeding from one eye. His arm stops working.
They showed some of that in like the first episode when he first controlled someone through the
he almost he ends up beating Ein. That's his name. He ends up beating Ein like barely. Like
Damn
Barbados, he ejects like basically all of the upper like the torso armor from Barbados to go faster. He ends up just like jettisoning it all off. I
remember hearing that Obari drew that.
Yeah, he did pretty much the entire final battle because like it you can tell just the sense of weight behind all the hits is insane. But yeah, essentially my favorite thing about the whole fucking show is that like every single thing that happens has consequences, like real true consequences.
That's the Marty Okada coming out in the show.
Yeah, and at the end of the show, you see Mikazuki is walking around with, he's got his signature jacket on, but he's got one arm outside of the jacket and it's just like hanging limp, and he's got a glass eye in his right eye because his eye has stopped working and his arm. Fuck you. His arm has stopped working, and he reveals basically like the entire upper right side of his body like just doesn't work because he like chose to fuck his shit up, fam. But apparently it works if he's hooked up to the Alaya Vinyana system. Basically he's now formed like a necessary symbiotic relationship with Barbados, and I'm sure there's going to be like some. There's going to be a plot point in the next season about how questioning his humanity. It's great. It's a great setup. But I really like the ending only because like a ton of people died, first of all.
I did notice that.
Yeah, and second of all, there's real consequences too. Like, the main protagonist like supposedly like sacrificing part of his humanity, like he fucking actually does. He can't use his right arm or his right eye. I always like that about
Mikazuki. He's really about his goals.
Yeah.
And there's not much to his character other than that, but
I love the scene where he like comes up on Orga, and Orga's like all, he's very sad because Biscuit just died. And Mikazuki's just like, dude, like you gotta lead us, man. Like you gotta show us where to go. Like he literally was just like, I don't fucking know what to do without you. Like I love the relationship between Mikazuki and Orga. It's a great kind of weird sibling relationship.
It's pretty unique in anime.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, you're not gonna like mine. Mine was a cop out just because.
Oh wait.
Did you? Yeah, wrong button. Mine was a cop out just because we were so weak on original anime this year.
What else was there besides these two?
Luck and Logic, Bubuki Bronchi. Yeah. And
so what is it?
I had Go Princess Precure.
Okay.
I joke. Well, Marc jokes, but I'm completely honest every time I say like Prepara, ICOTS, and Precure are my favorite things. That's not a joke at all. I'm completely honest. And Princess Precure, in terms of how good Precure are, it's pretty far up there. It's got a really great message that not only its demographic, enjoys, but that everyone does, which is, hey, they're your dreams. They're really strong, they kind of define you, but at the same time, you can change your dreams if it's not working out. Don't feel bad about it.
I can't possibly argue that it's not better than Bubuki Bronchi or Luck and Logic, because those are both hot, steaming messes.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even consider Iron-Blooded Orphans. I think because I saw that it was getting a second season, it just kind of exited my mind.
Iron-Blooded Orphans is hard. It's a hard subject because, Precure is kind of in the same thing because, are they completely original? No. They're basing themselves on some sort of preset lore. No matter how much they draw from that is, whatever. But, Mobile Suit Gundam. This is not the first Mobile Suit Gundam show that's ever been, and it's not the first Precure show that's ever been.
Yeah, these are in terms of Precure members number 48 through 52.
They're not adapting anything. They're writing a new story, and I think that's the important distinction.
It's certainly an original.
Yeah, and they're drawing from existing materia, I would say, but probably not,
For what it's worth, for best animation, I definitely could have put Precure, and I don't think I would have been wrong. This was by far the best animated Precure to date, and that is saying something. Everybody, there's a big hate train online pretty much everywhere you look for Toei looking like ass, especially between...
Because it usually does.
Yeah, between Dragon Ball and One Piece and all that. They generally look like ass, and God, especially Sailor Moon. But Precure is one thing where they don't skimp. And
they sure don't.
I'm not sure why, but I'm thankful for it. I like it. And Go Princess Precure was I feel, a legitimately good show. So it had a good message. The characters were believable. They all grew. The mascots kind of sucked. But hey, I'll take what I can get. It's only, the 11th season.
They probably still didn't suck as much as Luck and Logic and Bubuki Bronchi did. I love Bubuki Bronchi too.
I do too, but for all the wrong reasons.
That was about the hottest mess this season, probably.
Definitely.
As soon as you thought the show was about to start wrapping up, they introduced like 50 more characters, and you're like, "Oh, great!"
No idea where it's going. It's just like, is this a tournament now? I thought they were going like tournament style for a bit, and then
I don't fucking know. It's going to turn into IGPX probably.
I'd be okay with that. All right, let's go.
Yeah. All right.
All
so
right,
last
finally,
award,
the ending.
Best show overall. This should not surprise any of you having listened to this podcast, but like I said, it's a pretty controversial choice given how positive I've been to Erased up until this point. My best show is Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju. Yeah, I've already said pretty much everything I can possibly say.
We spent about half of this podcast talking about the show, and the other half talking about Erased.
I love this show so fucking much, and every single person that I've recommended this show to that didn't watch it this season, that is caught up on it, has been no different. Has been ecstatic.
It comes back to one of those things that I really feel bad for keep pressing like almost every episode, but there's a difference between a good anime and a good show.
Yeah. Well, a good anime or a good thing.
Yeah,
really.
Good thing. This is most certainly a good thing.
Yeah, this was a thing that very rarely to me felt like an anime in the traditional sense. It really
felt...
It was
a period drama.
Yeah, it was a period drama. It was kind of the Downton Abbey of anime, or it felt like an HBO miniseries or something. It really
did, yeah.
Like a Boardwalk Empire kind of period piece. It really had the same sort of attitude and subtlety and, directorial and voice acting performance, and just and it had so much emotional weight without beating you over the head with anything, and that's really important and a big achievement for any animation. It's why Pixar is such a important company in American animation, is because they take something that is so often associated with a complete lack of depth or subtlety or any sort of advanced forms of storytelling, and they make it appealing to everyone, but they'll kick your ass too. Up is an example of that, or like Inside Out is another example.
Oh
of
my
that.
god, I was not ready for Inside Out.
Shogen Raku Shinju is like a show that like is genuinely surprising if you don't know what to expect.
Got some chops.
I thought it was going to be an interesting look into Rakugo, and I couldn't give a fuck about Rakugo compared to like everything else that the show allowed you to see. Rakugo is just a lens.
Definitely transport you to the world. Yeah. Through the lens of Rakugo. Absolutely.
And it's a side of Japan that you rarely see too. Because not only is
anime,
Rakugo something,
sure.
It's not.
I can think of one other Rakugo anime, and Joshiraku is a little bit different than this.
But yeah, I mean, it's like not even just in the Rakugo sense, but just in like I'm trying to think of any other anime that I've seen. I've seen far less than you, but I'm trying to think of any other anime besides Blackjack and Grave of the Fireflies that takes place not in either some fantastical fucking world or modern Japan.
So I gave a couple when we spoke about this Overline, but I'll...
Yeah. I mean, there's a show premiering this season called Joker Game, which takes place in the 30s.
Even then, Joker Game is going to feel a lot more anime than
this.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah.
There's a couple like House of Five Leaves and, Mushishi. Well, Mushishi is fantasy, but there are other period drama pieces that do this, but yeah, Baccano.
Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah, Rurouni Kenshin is
Samurai Champloo.
Okay, now we're stretching
Hip Hop Edo. No, I mean
Hip Hop Edo was a real thing.
Yeah, it totally was. Yeah.
They
played baseball and they did graffiti with like big ink brushes.
I wish.
It's like I know a lot of people that have been very hesitant about recommending this show to people because of the fact that it is about Rakugo, which
there's
is such
a high barrier to entry. Yeah.
There is, but at the same time, I feel like they do such a good job of explaining
if
what
you can get
Rakugo
somebody
is.
to sit down and watch that first episode. I don't know about our listeners, and I don't know about you,
too.
But that first episode, like I was hooked from the instant the Rakugo started.
Exactly, and look, most people that are listening to this are Americans. We're no stranger to folk storytelling. And the way that I have to give special credit to the Crunchyroll subbers on this one because they did such an unbelievably fantastic job. They frame it in such a familiar understanding. Like if anyone is familiar with like the Appalachia, like kind of tradition of like stories passed down from generation to generation, it's much more informal than Rakugo because pretty much anything that we do in America is more informal than what they do in Japanese in Japan. But it's in essence it is very similar. If you understand what the folk storytelling tradition is like, then you will understand Rakugo. It's
so
not
like
that
Japan
hard
to
to understand. All the morals are the same. Like it's just more structure and more rules, but you'll get it.
Talking about moral was the last one that Sukiroko did. Oh my
Holy
god,
shit.
That wrecked me.
Yeah.
Talk about we spoke earlier about almost every Rakugo story they did being an analogy or a metaphor for their life. Oh my god, that it was never more obvious than right then. And for him to do the story about redemption and overcoming like alcoholism and stuff like that right before his untimely death was
I would say that, and I think the thing that really solidified Kikuhiko for me as my favorite character is the story that he did about the Shinigami visiting.
Especially because that's the one in the beginning that gets Yotaro interested in Rakugo.
It's absolutely the way that that sequence is directed, where you actually see kind of, I mean, it happens a lot in the story, but
audience,
you kind of see
the blackness and
the kind of almost visualization of what he's trying to convey to the audience. It's terrifying.
I think that was probably the best performance in the show, too.
It represents his character so perfectly because he is kind of this, part of him is very demonic and almost bordering on evil. And then part of him is just sad.
He's sad,
so sad.
He's very sad and broken.
Yeah. And I think Sukiroko is the same way, but the way that they deal with it manifests itself in such different ways. And the way that they visualize that in the show, Sukiroko is almost a fucking stand-up comedian in the way that he tells Rakugo, whereas Kikuhiko might as well be threatening the audience the entire time.
This is going to be a very weird analogy, but I think part of it can be compared to, you ready for this? Don't choke.
I'm ready.
Fiddler on the Roof. Okay. Because one of the major themes in Fiddler on the Roof was staying the same versus societal change. And that was really at the core between Kikuhiko and Sukiroko.
Yeah.
And of course, Sukiroko is all about, changing Rakugo and trying to bring it into something that's more popular post-war, something
because
more
he can
funny.
see
Something
the
that
death
captures
of Rakugo coming.
Exactly. And Kikuhiko kind of sees it, but at the same time, he really clings to those values all the way to the very end.
He is so desperate to hang on to what he knows, and it
hangs
makes
on to the
him,
culture itself as opposed to trying to form the culture to fit.
Yeah, because he's scared. He's a terrified man.
He doesn't want to get abandoned again.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get abandoned again. He doesn't want to be shunned by his peers for trying to carry out the will of, frankly, someone that Kikuhiko is really the most favorable to Tsukuroku during the entire show. Tsukuroku is constantly shit on, and every time he brings up the fact that he wants to change Rakugo and make it, so that it can survive, essentially, which I think is a very noble pursuit, honestly. Kikuhiko, he feels guilty because he wants to do that, but at the same time, he really doesn't, because he's terrified of being shunned by the Rakugo Association.
It's the only family he has left ever is his actual family abandoned him due to that bunk leg.
He's just at this point he's just fucking dead inside. He legitimately just is. He's tortured. Even in the last episode, Tsukuroku's ghost appears to him and just stares him down for a minute while he freaks out. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, just in general, I would say that don't let the fact that it is about such a
esoteric,
intrinsically Japanese thing.
It is a very high barrier to entry.
I would say the only thing that you really need to do, read the Wikipedia article on Rakugo, scan it, understand what it is, kind of put it in the same mindset as your, American folk storytelling. It's a much more formal version of something you would tell around a campfire. It's not that different in terms of culture. And honestly, it's kind of favorable that it's set when it is, because I feel like more people would be able to understand it through the lens of history than if it was set during modern Japan, which I think is more esoteric to people nowadays than it is in
Joshiraku
40s Japan. And
I keep bringing up Joshiraku, even though I keep on admitting it's a bad comparison to this, but in Joshiraku, it didn't take off in here because all of the jokes kind of had to do with Japanese politics and Japanese current pop culture stuff that we don't get over here. And that's kind of Rakugo as a whole, but setting it back a bit to more kind of a basic form than what Rakugo has evolved to today really served it well.
Yeah. And there's no end to English subtitled Rakugo performances that you can find on YouTube and, all the other
Rakugo's popular in its circles.
It's definitely
at least watch it in
a
Chugamu.
Revered art form nowadays in terms of comedy. In fact, one of the guys from Gaki no Tsukai, which is probably the most popular comedy television show in Japan, ever, is a legit Rakugo artist and changed his name. He inherited a name. It's pretty crazy. So
there's even one of the voice actors. I think it's Tsukuroku's voice actor. There's a video of him doing Rakugo on YouTube from 2005.
Yeah. So it's
cool stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't let the barrier to entry scare you because honestly, like you said,
it's worth
watching the first episode is going to have an impact.
It's going to grab you.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on.
Well,
let's get shit done.
To continue the theme from the rest of our episode.
What a surprise.
Yeah, I want the other side of the coin. Yeah. Rather than talk about what Erase did well, because we've spoken about that a bit, and it's by far the most lauded show this season, not even close.
For sure.
I want to talk about why I picked it over Rakugo. There's one thing that Erase did that Rakugo didn't. That is, in Rakugo, the characters were very defined by their roles. It was obvious what their roles are from the beginning. Like we said, it was Shakespearean. They all have a very different role to play. They felt more like they were defined by the roles than the characters organically coming up with a story. There was nothing in the background that kind of give you an idea of what the characters were thinking, like Satoru, just kind of quietly looking at Kaio's wounds and stuff like that. There was nothing subtle about the characters and who they were, and that was really the major difference. I wasn't the only one that noticed it. I saw some people talking about it online. It's very subtle, and honestly, either show would have been a good choice. It's kind of a tie in my mind, but I knew Marc was going to pick Rakugo, so I had to pick this, and that's kind of my argument why I would put it above.
I can see what you're saying. I don't know if I would even necessarily argue with you. Just it's.
We can discuss without arguing.
it's hard to compare these shows.
Yeah, they're
not,
very different.
They're not of even the same genre of thing.
What it came down to me is which one I looked forward to more weekly, and that was without a doubt Erased. Maybe it's
even
just by
it's hard for me.
Maybe it's just by its very nature, the fact that Erased was more suspense and thriller than Rakugo.
Yeah, it there was more of a immediate incentive to come back every week. It's hard for me to pick with that, even with that criteria, because the first half of the season it was absolutely Erased. Mm-hmm. But as the season progressed more and more, and I think the overall, and this is not, I don't want to talk shit about Erased.
No,
because
you love it, and I love Rakugo. Yeah,
I think that Erased started on a high and kind of went downhill from there. I really think Rakugo was on the same level the entire time. Yeah. And while I think it probably started below where Erased did, it ended, I think, much higher. They're just such different stories. They're such different styles of storytelling.
It's very hard to compare.
They're made with such different intent. I mean, we both would have picked either or. I mean, if we could just do a tie, we would. Because I love Erased for exactly not the reasons that I love Rakugo and vice versa. I just think
it's tough.
I tend to think in terms of like overall achievement. And when I think of overall achievement, as much as I loved Erased and what it did, and it did really important things.
Erased didn't do anything new.
I wouldn't, I don't even know if I would frame it in the sense of like new, but I would just frame it in the sense of like importance. And like the fact that, just the fact that you have people who are not Rakugo artists doing Rakugo in a show about Rakugo, and it's good and entertaining and not fucking boring. Like that, to me, is enough of an achievement. But the fact that they somehow managed to make every single character in that show incredibly compelling in their own way.
That was my thing. Don't get me. Obviously, we're both on the same page here. We both absolutely love both shows. Yeah. I felt Erased was more organic, less defined by its roles.
Oh, totally.
And on some level, I think Rakugo might have done that on purpose, because throughout the season, we are listening to a story told by Kikuhiko. Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe they were supposed to feel like characters more than people. But somewhere on a very basic level, I feel like I responded better to the characters in Erased being more organic.
And I think this comes down to like a difference of like what we are looking for. Honestly.
Well, we spoke online earlier, well, very briefly, because work was shitty that day. I really wanted to continue that conversation, but you were talking about how it's very unique, and not to say that that Rakugo isn't unique, but the period pieces and talking about stuff that we don't normally see in anime before has been done before. Yeah. Granted, Erased has been done a million times before. It's a standard thriller. It's just done to perfection almost.
Yeah.
So I think maybe it's a difference between the amount that we've seen. I don't know what it is, but...
Well, I would just say that I think, I think I have a lot more of a deference for the classics, obviously. I think in today's climate where we are constantly trying to make things gritty and realistic and dark, and, shit like that, which is fine. It's a product of post 9/11 the world. But I think to me it is such an incredible achievement where someone is able to take a story which very well could be a Rakugo tale. Like the entire story is...
Yeah, like I mentioned, it's Kikuhiko telling the story.
It plays as if Kikuhiko might as well be sitting up on stage telling his own biography in the form of Rakugo. The way the story plays out...
the characters are... The character...
In a meta sense is very much like your standard Rakugo morality tale, but the show goes much deeper than that. Yeah. And the details that they show are what makes it a human story. And
I guess I feel like Erased showed the subtleties better. Like I said, Rakugo is very character driven. You know exactly who the characters are. You know they're all flawed. You know the tragedies behind them. and they fit into that framework better, and you don't need to fill in the gaps yourself. You don't need to fill in the gaps with stuff going on in the background, whereas I felt like Erased wasn't that set in its course, I guess.
I don't know if it's that Erased started so well that it almost is impossible to like follow through on, but to me, Erased ending felt pretty flat to me, honestly.
Yeah, no,
like,
you're definitely right, but I still felt like overall it was better. Rakugo's ending was certainly better, especially that we're getting a season 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to judge that show in a microcosm, considering that we know what we know now. I mean, we're going to disagree on this. We're not going to change each other's minds. And obviously, we both loved both of these shows.
Yeah.
I just felt that Rakugo, to me, just felt more human, honestly.
That's where I disagree. I felt like it was more characters.
I just
related.
I related to the people in that show way more than I related to the people in Erased. And that's not to say that I didn't relate to Satoru, but the people in Erased almost felt, and this is kind of ironic considering like Rakugo is literally mirroring like a mythological tale, but it's hard to describe. I got a real sense of the character's humanity in Erased, but I did not get a very real sense of their inherent pain as much as I did in Rakugo. And I think it's because Rakugo was much more melodramatic.
Yeah.
But every time there was a close-up shot on Kikuhiko's face when he was reacting to something, or when Tsukuroku was like drunk and, you know, kind of like telling Kikuhiko about his exploits, you could tell that he was, you know, hurting bad and you know, needed attention just as much as Kikuhiko was. Every time he's an asshole to someone, you can tell it's because he's covering for the fact that he is fucking miserable.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, like, and like the thing that I always tend to forget about my journey through this show, because, you know, her end was so poignant that it's hard to remember how she got there. But when Miyokichi was introduced, I was absolutely in love with her. I thought that she was the most wonderful character, and
it's a geisha for you.
I thought that the show was they had me hook, line, and sinker. Like,
which kind of brings me all the way back around. She's definitely a geisha. She says at one point, I think the quote was, "If somebody loves me, I can be whatever I need to be for them."
Yeah.
And I almost feel like that almost turns into a nice metaphor for the show. It's, you know, that they're fitting those things that you expect, that you want from it.
Yeah, it's very poignant to me because the three main characters, we've all known people like them.
Yeah. And
they are tropes, but they're also tropes for a very good reason. And it's because that
tropes and stereotypes do very much exist for a reason.
And I think the important thing to me about that show, probably more important than anything else, is not that they fit in tropes, but what they did with the inherent traits of those tropes. Because those tropes are based, I mean, you know,
based in reality.
Art reflects reality, and
absolutely,
this reflects reality, you know, uncommonly well, I think. It's, you know, hard to say because I never lived in, you know, 1960s, 70s Japan, but, you know, that was another thing I really liked about the show, that they they always kept the time period pretty vacuous.
Oh yeah, it was
like they
kind of
very much. I mean, so much of the show was set in such a traditional atmosphere. It was always in the theater or in the house or on the street or in a bar, which are not necessarily things that you would be able to date something by. And so, like, they always purposely avoided showing like technology or vehicles or things like that.
It was all about theater, yeah.
Yeah, it was always about the people, and I mean, it was very much a period piece, but it wasn't burdened by that, I think. But the
whereas
point
in Erased, you always knew exactly what day it was.
That was its plus.
That was part of the plot, yeah.
Is because the 80s fucking sucked, and
it was part of the setting, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, which is kind of illustrates why it's kind of pointless to compare these two shows, because they're the two best shows of the season, and we don't need to decide. Yeah, we don't need to decide which one.
Two sides of a coin. Yeah.
Because I could have just as easily picked. I could
have just as easily picked Rocky.
Yeah, it's just like every other award, I could have easily picked one or the other, because it's hard. I mean, they're two, like,
very good, very different.
Yeah, it's saying like, man.
You know, I was thinking to myself before I went to bed, because of a conversation we had where we're lucky to have a show like Rakugo, or we're lucky to have a show like Erased in a season, or maybe even in a year. Something that aspires to be a lot more than the medium.
Yeah.
And not only did they both aspire to be it, they both really were. Maybe the rest of the season wasn't fantastic, but these two shows were really the best we could hope for from anime.
Yeah. I think, I'm sure most people probably don't feel this way, but I think this season was especially, to me, attuned to my interests. Like, there were a lot of shows that I think were especially appealing to me that maybe not so much to most other people.
I kind of feel the opposite. I dropped a lot, like I said earlier, maybe because of all the traveling I did.
Certainly compared to last season, this season was much better. Because honestly, the only show that I could tell you that I watched last season right now, One Punch Man. That's the only thing that I can remember. Like, legitimately. That's the only thing.
We'll come back to this in 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, see if we remember anything other than Erased.
Those are well, and Haikyuu probably, I guess. But again, Haikyuu is...
I don't even know if I'll mention Haikyuu. I love it, don't get me wrong, but...
Well, yeah,
I feel like when it's not airing, I'm gonna... Yeah, something we take for granted.
Well, yeah, next
we should
season,
probably wrap up.
This season's going to be a bit rough because we don't have any sports anime.
Yeah, let's do our social media and stuff now that we're about to hit like the 2-hour mark.
God, yeah. Facebook.com/ohnoanime.
Yep. Twitter @ohnoanime.
Please email us, ohnoanime@gmail.com.
Yep, we've been getting some more emails. It's great. We absolutely love them. Did you ever reply to poor Brandon?
Well, I told him on the stream that we were going to... Yeah, Brandon, you're going to be listening to this.
We should probably actually email him.
Point. I mean, at the next regular episode, which will be in probably a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about real quick. We once again, due to the traveling and all that, we kind of fell off doing regular episodes for the last half of last season. We're not really changing the schema here, but we're changing how we name stuff, where because we're on YouTube now and it's more readily searchable, we're going to do like spring season weeks 1 and 2, spring season weeks 3 and 4. So if you're somebody who doesn't listen to it regularly, but kind of likes our opinions every once in a while, maybe you see something good in an episode, you'll be able to easily find the episode we're talking about.
We
not the title.
Boil this down.
It's going to be in a playlist.
The titles are going to be the same, but the playlist.
We're going to have a playlist on YouTube.
So starting this season, we're going to have a spring 2016 playlist into which the preview and then all further episodes will go.
Of course, so we do it every other week. We'll try and strictly adhere to weeks 1 and 2, weeks 3 and 4, which will be easy because it'll be episode 1 and 2, 3 and 4, etc. We're gonna fly by the seat of our pants that as we always. We're gonna try. We're both adults with shit to do.
Yeah, totally.
Mostly anime conventions by shit.
We haven't entered YouTube's monetization process yet, so we can't quit our jobs just yet.
We'll get there.
We have faith in all of your viewers. Subscribers. We're gonna. I think the only thing we should mention. Look on our Facebook.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're hosting some panels this summer at some conventions in the Tampa, Orlando, Florida area. So if you live there, which I'm sure a good amount of our listeners
I think
do.
so. Like 25% of our listeners are from Florida.
Yeah, Orlando is kind of an anime hotspot in the southeast. So
I got some buddies out there.
Keep an eye out. We're definitely doing a panel at MetroCon. I can't tell you the name or date off the top of my head, but we're doing that, and then we're going to try to do one at AFO. So. Keep your eyes peeled for those. We'll make more immediate announcements as they come up. It's kind of far off still.
Well, Marc doesn't know this yet, but I'm definitely recording the episode or the panel rather at MetroCon.
Sweet.
I'm doing my best to record that and upload that.
That would be a good thing to record.
I don't know if I want to record us or the crowd though. Should we have a crowd mic?
I don't think we should have a crowd mic.
They're probably going to be pretty quiet. They're going to be upset because
it's not
going to
be a it's not going to be a raucous. Yeah, we're going to be ruining their lives.
Good.
Does anybody have any merchandise we like to debunk, like fucking ancient aliens?
Here, bring it here.
My name is Giorgio Tsoukalos, and I'm about to debunk your merchandise.
Anyway.
Anyway. Hit us up if you have anything to say or would like to, have us talk about shit.
No, Marc,
we need music to go out on, don't we?
Oh yeah, hang on. I actually loaded that up a while ago before before it fell off, I have. I think we decided on the first track of this album. You guys might have noticed. You probably didn't notice, but I am wearing a Baby Metal T-shirt. That's because today is April 1st, and the second Baby Metal album, Metal Resistance, is finally out. Here is the first track.
Yeah, it is, and
Road
that's what
to
we're going to be
Resistance.
going out on. Road to Resistance. Fun fact, written by, I can't remember his name, but the dude from Dragon
It's
Force.
Dragon Force. It's a
And
Dragon
it sounds
Force
like
song.
fucking Dragon Force.
It does, but
Yeah.
I like it.
So here is 15 seconds or less of Road to Resistance, and until next time, we'll say.
No, we'll say, haha, Mark has to go
sayonara.
watch Love Live with me now.
Oh God. All right. See you guys.